This is the Anbernic RG Rotate, and this arrived literally 5 minutes ago. I haven't even opened the box, so everything you see here will be my absolute first impressions of the console. So let's dive in and get this bad boy set up. Okay, here we are. This is the RG Rotate. So I've gone for the Aurora Silver model. That's the metal one. So we're just gonna take this little foam piece off the top and we'll lift the device out. Let's just gently reveal. So already this has got quite a nice weight to it. It's not too heavy, and I am really glad that I decided to go for the metal shell rather than the plastic one. I believe there's been reports of the plastic one feeling a little bit cheap. Now, without further ado, oh, it's beautiful. There is quite a snap on that, so I do hope that the hinge is built for longevity. So let's turn this on. I have got here a 64 gig memory card that I have formatted. There is nothing on it currently, but I'm going to pop it in anyway, just in case it needs to do any first time installations. So let's turn this on. Hopefully it's got a charge. There we go. So I'll just close it down whilst we can see the boot up screen. There we go. So we have our initial setup. So click the bottom button to select our system language. So English, obviously. Is that selecting English? Do I have to do it with the... It doesn't want to... Oh, I selected Chinese. Already we're off to a horrific start. So maybe it's already on English. So, it is. So Wi-Fi settings. So I'm just going to skip this bit whilst I input my Wi-Fi settings. Now we're going to set our time and date, so we'll do it automatically. So it's not 2:15 because we're actually currently in British summertime, which if any of you are based in the UK today, you'll know it's absolutely sweltering hot. So it's going to load some configuration files, so we'll be back in a second. Actually, whilst that is doing, I want to see what else is in the box. It should just be a USB cable, so I'm going to move this little foam insert and then just give that a little shake. And what have we got in here? So we have got our user manual. No one ever needs these. We've got a little screen protector with wipes. We've got some replacement shoulder buttons or some additional shoulder buttons. So I'll stick with the default for now and then see how I get on. We've got a lanyard because it's got some lanyard hoops on the bottom right, which is always good to know. And we've got our USB-C cable. So this does have, or it seems to have, some charge in it. I don't know exactly how much charge it's going to have in it, but we will see. Okay, so that took a couple of minutes, so we'll finish go in system. I always love the translation, and here we are. This is the Anbernic RG Rotate. So it comes pre-installed. We've got a Chinese app there, whatever that is. We've got some over-the-air updates. We've got a gamepad test. We've got the Google Play Store. We've got Anbernic AI, Aptoid. We've got the Casio player, which I'm assuming is to do with using it as a music player. I probably won't be using this as a music player, but I'll be testing it out anyway. And we have some emulators already pre-installed, which is good to know. A little bit laggy there on the emulation front. So we've got RetroPup, we've got Moonlight for PC streaming, we've got some Game Boy Advance, some Game Boy Colors, Mega Drives, Neo Geo, PC Engine, MSX, DOSBox, Flycast, Easy RPG. So we've got quite a lot on here. So it does have things like Nether SX2, which I do believe it can handle, and Dolphin. I believe it can handle them, But obviously, the lack of analog sticks probably makes this not the ideal console. So I intend to use this just for everything up to and including PS1. So maybe some PSP as well, although with the square form factor, probably not the best use of emulation for the PSP. So I am gonna have a quick look at these. So we've got our normal Chrome, we've got our files, our settings. So let's have it. What's this Chinese app? What's this? Yes, I agree. So if there are any Chinese speakers in the comments, I'd appreciate some assistance. So as expected, I have absolutely no idea what this is. Although that looked like, was that Dead King of Fighters, maybe? A fighting game? Some game trailers. I will say that the speakers sound quite good for a device of this size, and a lot of the Anbernics and handhelds in general, the sound quality not usually the greatest, but that sounded not too bad. Did it? Does it have any music we can test? So you don't need to make phone calls, but okay, so we can load our music in there. There's a video player. I'll just allow. Let's have a look at what Anbernic AI is. Explore the infinite possibilities of gaming. So it's got AI Square, experience more fun AI features, AI translation, and create new session. So if I do AI translation, with the agreement being in Chinese, there's a beautiful irony there. Oh, it is in English on the bottom as well. So can I do AI translation? Let's do an OpenAI floating window. Oh, what a lovely noise. So if I go over to, will it translate? It's got the little... So I don't want it to play music just because in case it might get muted, but... So I don't know, what's AI Square? So it's got some text to pictures, it's got a soul partner, which could be a weird mistranslation, it could be something completely anonymous. Soul partner, what's that? Okay, none of these seem to do much. Can't send an empty message, wasn't trying to. And it crashed. It's always good to know. AI is the future, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, that noise was fun the first time. So we have the volume control on the left-hand side of the device. I'm just going to knock that down a peg. Create a new session. Discuss game strategies with Anbernic AI at any time, in which case I will be doing none. Don't believe we'll need to do an over-the-air update, but we'll just check anyway, just in case. Current version is the latest version, as expected. Gamepad test. We'll have a look at the gamepad test. So I've got my directional buttons. I've got my... I like how it has more options than is actually available on the device. Although trying to test the home key just exits the app, which seems like a bit of a design flaw. I will say, I quite like how clicky these shoulder buttons are. Although, they are a little bit loud, so... Probably not one I could play in bed without annoying the other half. So, obviously got our Play Store. What's Aptoid? Discover the best apps. I'll be the judge of that. Create a personal store. So I'll probably ignore most of this. I just want to see kind of what... Oh, so it looks like a lot of garbage. It'll be your usual gacha mobile games. And it's got PUBG, 8-Ball Pool, Temple Run 2. Is that still going? So yeah, your usual app store, nothing too exciting. Some idle games there. I don't tend to use any of this sort of stuff. I prefer just playing games that I have emulated. So, speaking of which, I am going to take my SD card, I'm going to pop some ROMs on it, and we'll do some tests on the gameplay. See you shortly. Okay, so I've just popped my SD card into my PC, and you can see here the file structure, pretty much your standard Android file structure. So I'm going to copy some games over, and then we'll have a play around. Okie dokie, so I've just copied over just some basic ROMs that I tend to use when I'm testing out some new devices. So first things first, oh, just a note as well, it does actually come with 32 gigabytes of internal storage, although 11 gigabytes seems to have been occupied by some documents. So I'll probably do some tidying up of those. However, I've got a 64 gig SD card, so that's where I have copied all my ROMs, just in this little ROMs folder here. So let's go back to our emulators. A little bit weird having a unified back and home button. So you have to hold the button for it to take you home, or you can tap it for back. So probably going to take a little bit of muscle memory to get used to that. A little bit like fluff or something on this, so that's not from me. So in terms of emulators, a lot of the built-in ones are these GBA.emu, GBC.emu. I don't tend to use these. I prefer just to use everything through RetroArch, just because of things like retro achievements. So I'm going to open up RetroArch, and then I've already given it some permissions, so I'm just going to quickly go through and do a normal setup. So the first thing I always do, if you've seen any of my videos, is let's change this bloody awful display driver to something a little bit more familiar. So we'll change to the XMB, we'll go back, and we'll make sure, say it with me now, we're going to save that configuration file. How many of you have forgotten it? I'll guarantee at least some of you, or all of you. So we're going to quit out, and then we will reload. There we go. So actually, it is tiny on this screen, so that probably wasn't the smartest idea. Okay, so we are back on GLUI, or GLUI, however you pronounce it. So I'm just going to, firstly, let's sort out some UI. So I'm just going to turn off the on-screen overlay, just because it will give us some on-screen controls that we don't want. Then on our import, I'm just going to change my menu control. My menu controls. I'm going to swap. It's always a pain to do this. There we go. Just so it matches the layout, the Nintendo style layout. So haptic feedback and vibration. So we'll enable vibration for supported cores. Won't do any remapping yet for hotkeys. I'm going to just set my enable. Yeah, okay, I know what a hotkey is, thank you. And then for the menu toggle, I'm just going to go for my usual, which is X. For quit, I go for start. And then for the fast forward, I use the toggle, I go for R2. There we are, and that's all I tend to use for my hotkeys. The reason for that being is I am a massive fan of retro achievements, so let's set those up next. So let's go into our achievements menu. So I'm just going to enable some retro achievements. And there we are. So I've logged in. I am a hardcore mode player, so I don't use save states or cheats, that kind of thing. We'll play an unlock sound, and that is all we need for achievements. So that's just my basic setup. Now for my directory settings, I'm just going to set my file browser default to my SD card. So /storage, and then this little 8-digit code here, which is my SD card, and then I'm just going to set it to my ROMs folder there, just to save us a little bit of time. So I'm going to go back over, and I'm just going to make sure I save that config file just in case. So now let's import some content. So I'm going to scan our directory. We'll give that a moment. Shouldn't hopefully take too long, so we'll be back shortly. Okay, so that took a few minutes, a little bit slower than it is obviously on more powerful devices like the AYN devices. I believe this is using Android 13, which is a slightly older version compared to some of those devices. So now that's done, I believe that we already have some cores installed. Oh, I didn't mean to click update, but yeah, it looks like that we do have some cores installed. So whilst that's doing, I'm going to just set our core associations on our playlists. So I'm going to come to playlists, go to manage playlists. Now for Game Boy Advance, I like the, we've got a ton of cores already installed. Probably a little bit overkill. I'd have preferred it to be a blank installation and allow me to manage it myself. However, for those of you who are newer to this sort of thing, it's probably nice to have a lot of that hard work done for you. So for Game Boy, I like good old Gambate. For NES, I like good old either FC, EUM or Meeson. I want to go for Meeson. Truth be told, I don't believe there's a massive difference, at least not from my experience. For SNES, I'm going to go for SNES 9X. The Master System, I'm just going to use the Genesis Plus GX, and the same for the Genesis, obviously. And then finally for PlayStation, I will use the Swan Station core. There we are. So I know this comes with DuckStation pre-installed, however, I'll probably just be using RetroArch for this until I do some further testing in my own time. So let's save that config file. You've got to make sure you keep saving those config files, and then we'll go over to playlists and let's boot into a game. So let's try a Game Boy Advance game first. So we'll try just booting up into, we'll try some Advance Wars. So I'll just make sure, turn the volume up a little. So the speakers are okay. For what it is, they're not bad. They're probably a little bit better than the original Game Boy Advance speakers. But in terms of how it runs really well. Obviously, the only shame being is because of the aspect ratio of the Game Boy Advance, you do have these black bars. But you can get bezels and overlays and things like that to make up for that. So let's quit out. And let's just try, oh, didn't mean to quit the whole thing. So I'm going to try let's try a PlayStation game, something a little bit more intense. We'll try Tony Hawk's just because I can get into a game quicker. So at least we found the retro achievements for this one, so I know that I've logged in correctly. So the speaker's on the back, which means that you may have to adjust your grip depending on how you play. Unless you, of course, use headphones. Obviously, the weird thing about this device is some of the marketing has kind of marketed it as a music player, yet they've not given a headphone jack, which is an interesting choice. I personally can't see myself using this as a music player. I tend to always have my phone on me, so I best mute that just to prevent any potential copyright strikes. Thanks, Papa Roach. So in terms of how it runs PlayStation, it does seem to run relatively well. Obviously, I know that one of the main concerns of this device, outside of it not having a headphone jack is the battery life. I believe it has I want to say a 2000 milliamp battery. That could be wrong, I might be mistaken. Which is, whatever it was noticeably smaller than a lot of comparable devices. So it probably won't last too long playing PlayStation 1 games or PS2 games, if that's something you plan to play on this. I won't be, just because, like I said, the lack of analog sticks means that you're very limited in terms of what games you can reasonably play. There are definitely options out there, some RPGs, maybe visual novels, that kind of thing, but outside of that you are quite limited purely on a control basis, unless of course you use the touchscreen controls, which kind of defeats the purpose of having a dedicated device. If you have to end up using the touchscreen controls, you can just use your phone. So this is just going to be a quick kind of first boot video. So I'm going to be covering some more of this in the coming months. One thing I'm hoping is, because this device does seem to have become quite popular, not as popular as the AYN Thor or Odin, but for Anbernic devices it definitely has caused a little bit of a spark. I'm hoping to see perhaps some kind of custom front ends or custom firmwares, because truth be told, I don't know if Android is the most appropriate operating system for this handheld, particularly using things like RetroArch and having to go into there or go into each individual emulator. I'd rather have just a nice little screen, kind of like this, with all your games. So I know that obviously this has only just started arriving to the public this week. As I said before, mine literally arrived 5 minutes before I started recording this video. So I am hoping that someone smarter than I and with a better eye for design can come up with a solution just to make the whole firmware and the whole feel a little bit more intuitive. So just before we wrap up, I did just see, whilst I was playing around on my phone, that this guy on Reddit, William Carr, or Binary Flux as his itch.io profile is, has just released this quick draw game for the RG Rotate. So I've just downloaded it. So now let's have a little test of that and see how we get on. So we've got the APK there, so I'm just gonna extract it just to the downloads folder. And then we'll install that. There was a problem. There we go. So I believe the way this works is when you hear... Ooh. So let's tap how to play. So hold your device flat in front of you, rotated closed. When you hear an eagle's cry, rotate the device open as fast as possible. I'm gonna press start, and then when I hear... Ooh. Actually quite hard to do when you're holding it flat on the table. So what happens if I don't actually react when I hear a... Oh, okay. So is this a... Oh, no, he did shoot me. Very, very generous. I'm assuming the higher you get, the quicker he is. But that was just a nice little sneak peek of a game custom designed for the RG Rotate. And there we are. That was just my first look at the Anbernic RG Rotate. And it does seem like quite a cool device. As I said a couple of times throughout this video, I don't know if Android is the most appropriate operating system for this device. I am hoping that there are alternate options, or at least a better way to display your games. I have seen online that there's been some specific custom music players that are kind of built on the iPod Classic, which is great, but I can't see myself using this as a music player, not when I have my own self-hosted music library which lives on my phone. So all in all, really like the form factor, really glad I went for the metal. It does feel quite premium. I believe the plastic version does feel a bit cheaper. So as always, if you like this video, I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe. If you've got any questions about the device or anything you want me to check out, please by all means drop a comment below and I'll see what I can do. Tell your friends and I'll see you next time.